Let's solve the inequality x squared plus x minus 6 is less than or equal to 0 by using parts A through D below. To start with, in part A, we're going to call this part of the inequality f of x, and step 1 is to figure out where it is equal to 0, and then we'll worry about the less than part later. So step 1 is we have to solve this equation, and I think the best approach will be to use factoring. So I want to choose two numbers that multiply to this negative 6, yet add to this positive 1 that is in front of the x term. So I think this can break apart into two linear pieces. We have to have an x and an x. And again, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us negative 6, yet add to positive 1, so the number that's in front of the x term. And the two numbers that are going to do that will be positive 3 and negative 2. The product of these two numbers is negative 6. If you add them together, you get positive 1. And so we have, in fact, factored this part of the equation. To figure out where it's actually equal to 0, we'll take each linear piece individually and set it equal to 0. So that is, where is x plus 3 equal to 0? And where is x minus 2 equal to 0? Fairly simple linear equations. I'll subtract 3 from the one on the left. I will add 2 to the one on the right. And here we have two solutions to our equation. X is equal to negative 3, as well as x is equal to positive 2. So that's where the inequality is equal to 0. I want to know where it is also less than 0. Part B has us mark the solutions from part A on this number line. And so just to recall, the original inequality was x squared plus x minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. Because there is an equal sign in this inequality, when I mark the solutions of negative 3 and positive 2, I'm going to use a closed circle. Had it just been like less than or greater than, I would use an open circle just to indicate that we're not using the points themselves. But again, our solutions here were we had one at negative 3, we had one at positive 2. There was an equal sign included in the original question, so I'm going to fill these in as a closed circle. So in terms of where this thing is less than 0, since I already know where it is equal to 0, there are three places that we have to check. We'll check to see if it's positive or negative here, here, and here. Every place where it is negative, we want to include that region on the number line. That takes us to part C. We're going to compute f of negative 4, so we'll just figure out if it's positive or negative here. We'll compute f of 0, so again, we'll figure out if it's positive or negative here. And then we'll do the same thing for 3, figure out if it is positive or negative here. This is really easy to do if you have a calculator, but essentially what we're doing is we're taking the function, and I'm going to start by putting a negative 4 in place of all of the x's. So, is this positive or negative is all I really care about. So I'm going to compute this in my calculator, and the value that I get at negative 4 is positive 6. So f of negative 4 is positive 6. And all I really care about is the fact that it is positive. This tells me that if we are on negative 3 and we're going in this direction, we're always going to get positive numbers in this expression. So I don't want those. I only want ones that are negative. So now that takes me to f of 0. What I'm going to do is take 0 and put that into my function. So 0 squared plus 0 minus 6. If we simplify this one, we get negative 6. And all I really care about is the negative part of it. That means from here to here, this expression is always a negative value. And then lastly, we should check f of 3. That is, if you square 3 and then add 3 and subtract 6, what value do you get? Do you get a positive or a negative number? So this one actually equals 6 as well. All right, and that means this is positive. In terms of answering this inequality, I want to take every place where it is equal to 0, but also negative or less than 0. So looking at my number line, that is everything from negative 3 up to and including positive 2. If you want to write this as an interval, I would say this, from negative 3 to 2. Using these types of brackets, we're saying we're including both endpoints. So had the question not had an equal sign, if it was just greater than or less than, the only difference is you would use parentheses as opposed to these closed brackets. But for this question, this is the final answer.